So I was born in France, Paris. Nabutama na France na Paris. Nabutama tuza total na 5. Nga naza mwana katikati naza 3e. Ok, so comme parents nanga, ezali mama Micheline Waluyema na papa Lucien WASOLUA Kibeti. Donc maman azalaki infirmière et papa azali kosala na sécurité. So when I was growing up, I was someone that had a lot of questions. The description that I always get from my tantine, you love the word no, you love to always chat back, but also you was very bubbly, but I was reserved. I was very reserved, donc if I didn't know you, so when I would see people, apparently I would say Mission. So one auntie, she loves telling me that story, but if I didn't know you, I didn't want to talk to you, I wouldn't be next to you. But as soon as I get to know you, okay, so yes, nabuta mana France na Lubaki, tu es en Angleterre, nga nazaki na âge 8 ans. Donc, toyaki na Angleterre, ezalaki pour la France. J'ai été victime du racisme à l'école. Maîtresse moko LUA et Denga pendant toutes les classes parce que je travaillais très vite. I used to work very quickly, work that would require about 45 minutes, an hour to finish. I'd finish in 20 minutes. So I used to get very bored in school. And the teacher complained to my mama, you know, she's working too fast. I think, you know, she needs to slow down. Mom, you know, used to say to her, was that maîtresse? So when you want to quickly give her more work. So it led to the teacher creating insecurities. So every time she'd look at my work, I'd tell her, are you sure that's how you spelled that? Was that sûr? And I would think, you know, I was very sure. Yes, I spelled this correctly. Me, I would then try to change it, to fix it, so that it could look different, but still sound the same. And she would never tell me que yes, obongisi correctement, tout ça kamabe. So what that started doing is creating mistakes in the words that I was writing and words that I knew. So it used to be everyday words, neti, I have, or it was sounds essentially. So anything like the word the, I started sort of mixing up syllables. And as a result, tozaki obligé, na qui n'est pas orthophoniste, mais orthophoniste, moi, nazaki privé. Nazaki pendant classe, seulement, azaki obligé à lunga musala, aye na classe, azwinga, amininga pa orthophoniste, azelinga, azung singa na école, et puis après, y azungi musala. And you can imagine, azaki compliqué, kulunga musala, on zappe na bana 5 aux occupés. Donc, ermoko mama amoni, alembi, alobi na comprendre témoin, azaki maye na classe, a comme na ba complication to comprendre té. Donc, camarade na ye, ABC, you know, Micheline, oza normalité. Est-ce que vous mettez autour de moi, azo stani na ba session wana, because azaki na droite à côté na ba session wana orthophoniste. Donc, eratoninga LUCRECE. Qu'est-ce que tu fais dans tes leçons? What are you doing in the sessions? I said to her, Mom, I'm playing games on the computer. Oh, atoninga. Was also a version of ordinateur? I said, yeah. And she asked me, is the teacher not showing you anything? I said, at first she was, but ça fait peut-être 4 sessions, non? Puis t'as qu'à bager un ordinateur, là, ça est le côté. Vous imaginez, maman congolaise, asili capo. C'était, yemo kwaze kofutango, she was the one that was paying for it. So, ça mon gebele. So, asilika, akine la maîtresse pendant l'école, atunaye, d'abord, à solana orthophoniste. À solana orthophoniste, atunaye, non, comprends-moi, nanga olo bakue, ozo ete, alors ça capable un ordinateur. Moi, on a un problème. RH pression boya ça qui m'a empêché mon délai. Donc j'oublie même la maîtresse n'a orthophoniste qui va me délai. Donc pour comprendre pourquoi je dis le racisme. Donc à l'objet que zangate maîtresse n'a pas qui numéro nanga obenganga azo senga na gardé moi na awa comme ça azo raté classe zonga azo obligé à rattraper ba cours à classe. And I was missing a lot of school because of these sessions. So as you can imagine, maman a silika muko. You're wasting her time on her money, her time. She's supposed to go to work. She's losing out in so many ways. Donc, elle est la maîtresse qu'on a à l'école. Donc oyebeka bacongolaise ndenge tozalaka achie pression achie bashusho aloba na ye oyo oza raciste ozolinga mwana na nga te boyeboyeboye ozokuta baincompréhension na kasi na mwana na nga comme ça akóma mayele te na classe. Donc esalaki que tellement ça a causé problème bazwanga balongolanga na classe wana bachanga na classe directeur. Maintenant ça c'était vers la fin de l'année. Donc toute l'année makambo ezali koleka na je peux dire mai juin bachanga na classe directeur ata ndenge nazali kotravailler et amona que non LUCRECE franchement ozalaki motu faki osauter classe mais tellement nazwi temps te na observer temps molai mpona nazala sûr que osauter classe ozala bien ozala à l'aise na badinga et tout ça c'est mieux que totala année prochaine. Mais à ce moment-là maman déjà azwaki décision que na France vraiment monani kitoke mosika te. Moi depuis très très petite nazali koloba yango depuis âge à 3 ans I want to be a doctor. C'était vraiment connu que je disais même pas le mot docteur. I used to say I want to cut people up. J'ai envie de découper les gens. And mom, she used to laugh. She used to think, oh, moi, nous, na yebi, le balinga, à la médecin depuis, elle n'a pas 3 ans. Mais franchement, na koya nango, na kangama nango. Donc, elle a moni que, moi, na pour ça, à la médecin, déjà, par complication, en gros, à moi, na mouké, na école primaire, parce que j'avais des 7 ans à l'époque, 7-8 ans, à l'objet que t'es. N'a pas de problème en général, il y a vie en France, à mon que camarade na yepsi, il y a qu'en Angleterre, awa ba prochainité zali. Il y a quand même bana, ma comment na yoleka awate. La ndenge azwaki décision, ka année wana, on a pris nos clics et nos claques, to yaki en Angleterre. To en Angleterre, d'abord to yaki na Birmingham, ça dit 1 an kuna, et puis après to yaki na Londres, awane na continuer ma classe nanga. Oh, yes, because how I felt coming to England, not speaking a word of English. Well, maybe it's to say, hello, how are you? Can you speak English? That was all I knew how to say. Et ça qui difficile. C'était très compliqué. Ça qui compliqué pour la bisogno so parce que la papa, la maman bisogno so, c'est que le bas anglais. Donc, nani to kina ma classe et tout ça, zo kini kuna. Même even to make friends, it was difficult because they don't understand you. You don't really understand them. So it was very difficult at first, and it was lonely. I was like very lonely at first because again, you just don't know how to express yourself. So my main friends became my siblings that I would go to school with, which was my older brother and my brother Walandanga. So we used to go to school together and come back together, and that's the main people we used to, interact with. We were very fortunate. Donc, in an école moko primaire au Ezaki catholique, Basola biso a teacher that would come, would take us out the lessons, and as well as biso anglais. Ça a langue pour, je pense, pas 2 mois, pas plus de 3 mois. So after 3 months, we managed to learn English. I'm only so I don't think you guys need to be with me anymore. You understand everything I'm saying to you. Just go back to class now. I think you're going to thrive. So it was difficult also because I don't know how legal this was. Me, when I came, I was supposed to be in year 4. They had no place in the year 4 class, so that's Bachangana year 3. So I went to year 3. So I learned English there, and I did the level of maths and English of a year 3 student. Problem is, I like it that when I then finished year 3, I skipped straight to year 5. So I missed the whole curriculum of year 4. So that in itself made things even harder because my maths level was behind, my English level was behind, my science level was completely behind. But at this point, I knew the language and I was determined. So I really pushed myself to make sure I picked up all the things that my peers had learned in year 4, and I managed to even surpass them by the time I got to year 6. So it was difficult. It was very difficult. It was lonely initially, but again, I had my siblings, so that was nice. I would say, so the advice that I would give to anyone that would like to move to another country for a better opportunity, for a better life is, first of all, I would say, do it. There's a reason why you feel convicted to leave where you are. If you feel that there is no future opportunity there for you anymore and you want to go somewhere else, don't be afraid. Don't let the language, is only so sima, the fact that you don't know the system. At the end of the day, to come na generation moko, il y a TikTok, il y a Google. You can find out so much before coming to a country. It's not the same as so I would say use the platforms you have, research online, Otala, déjà, réalité en Congo, the system. There's another platform by LinkedIn. You can network with people that live in the country. You can search your area, search platforms so that you can identify people that maybe work in the same field as you, Namboka, in the country you want to go to. connect with them, ask them questions. So that's something that it would be really good to do. And also, we've got so many applications. Long, by Duolingo, Babbel. Start learning the language now. Use the applications, long of the country where you're trying to go, and you start to learn that way. Or you're going to school, start learning the language. You won't. It's true, you won't learn it 100%. It won't be the same way as living in the country, but you could learn at least a good 80%. So by the time you go to the country, you understand what's being said. À ta difficulté, ou le baba momé, tu peux te faire comprendre. So that will be my recommendation. Use your network, even if you don't have people, use the internet, connect to people, ask them questions. Some people are so willing to help. So kubangati, do it, is what I would say. So modeling industry, yes. The modeling industry, I started, I would say 15, 16. So given my aesthetic, my height, I was always told you should model. But honestly, I was not very confident. I didn't feel beautiful enough. I didn't feel as though, I looked like a model or even had the physique of it. But I had a friend who I went to primary school with. So so, it was something that I thought, okay, if she can do it, then maybe one day I can do it. So I just one day thought, I'm going to look up online, see if I can find some experience. And I found some free charity shows that were looking for models. I would practice walking at home, practice posing in the mirror. The reason why I did it, to be honest, people will think that maybe, I always thought I was pretty, that, franchement, no. Nasarango because I wanted to build up my confidence. I wasn't very confident, so I thought maybe the more comfortable, if I start modeling, I'll get more comfortable in front of the camera and I feel more confident. And it was a show, I think, America's Next Top Model. I used to love watching that show with my sister, and I always thought I want to be, one of those women one day. So I took a leap of faith, essentially to build my confidence. And through modeling, I got more comfortable in my skin, more comfortable with my physique, my appearance, and it gave me the confidence to now look for more opportunities. And through that, it is also when I took the courage to apply for a pageant. And this pageant, again, encouraged me to, do more modeling because they booked me for shoots and things like that. So yes, that is my journey into modeling, essentially. That's how I got into it and the why. No, Mika. So, kosala mannequinat, donc modeling, nasala ngupo, en réalité, nazali komona neti naza kitoko te. Donc, eza na temps nanga, eza na taille nanga, nazalaki ko apprécier nzoto nanga te. Donc, kokota kosala mannequinat ezalaki plus mpona kolisa confiance en soi, donc estime en soi, et kola. Donc, c'était juste pour, ezalaki pour me grandir dans ma confiance. Donc nasalaki yango comme ça nazala à l'aise liboso ya miroir, nazala pe à l'aise na kokanga ba photo, nazala pe à l'aise na nzoto nanga. Donc kosala mannequinat esalaki en sorte que le plus nazosala yango, le plus tomona que naza na une habilité ya kokanga ba photo ya kitoko ya mokonga na otala yango nomona pe ya solo nazwi photo ya kitoko. Donc esalaki qu'avec le temps nazwa confiance en moi-même. Donc wana nde esalaki que namona que en réalité nzambe ndenge akelanga bien, et que nazala fière ya kozala mwana nzambe, et que na ndenge asala ngai je suis bien. Naza défaut te, naza parfaite mais naza défaut te. Donc c'est un peu ça. So did I ever reveal to my parents that I had low self-esteem? At the time, I would say yes and no. But I didn't, and because of the fact naza caractère makasi. So they always thought that, the comments they would say, sometimes it's like a normal, the comments they say about you, that maybe I had a tough skin and they could keep it in me. Or reality, yes, there were some things that were being said that made me feel some type of way. I would say the time that I eventually did tell mom more about it, as I like maybe about 15, 16 years old. And I think it was more because the situation happened, whereby, unfortunately, you upset with each other and you insult each other. And one of my siblings, the insult they had said about me was the fact that, nazaki tokote, nazamwindu makas, polina ngatina, nanzutute tusa. And it really is swaki makas. Like, it was very painful to me. And I was sitting there in the living room and I was crying so quietly. And mom walked in. So I tried to hide the fact that I had been crying because I didn't want to say what had happened. And she said, "Why are you crying? What happened?" And I explained to her, this is what was said, blah, blah, blah. And I remember she was furious. She was not happy because she said, "That's not nice. Or you're exactly like how I was growing up. I looked exactly like you. Like, keep being mundu like you, Nzotumiki and stuff like that is absolutely normal. No one has the right to say anything like that to you." And obviously she addressed it. And feeling like mom was in my corner, it was nice. It did feel good to know that, something that could upset me a lot like that, she defended me. But it wasn't just the fact she defended me. It was the fact that, she reassured me saying that, I was exactly like you growing up. There was nothing wrong with you. You're beautiful as you are, your skin tone, your body and everything. And that was nice. And I would say from that, knowing that, mom viewed me like this, obviously that's when I got into the modeling after, and I built my confidence up essentially through that. And, she would also always look at me and be like, "Hey, you've been Zaman again," stuff like that. And again, it was very encouraging and uplifting. So I would say that it's definitely important, if you feel like that, to discuss it with your parents, because sometimes you have thoughts, you feel as though maybe they think, you're not beautiful because maybe they don't say it to you, and that's not the fact. So raising up to your parents, raising the concern that you feel some type of way in your body is very important to that, because the words they have, it does impact you. Even if you tell yourself that you don't care, it does impact you. So in the same way it can destroy you, it can build you up. So I would say, if you have self-esteem issues, raise it with your parents, because they will always speak life into you. I think so. The difficulty that comes with parents not telling not speaking, not affirming to them, not telling them how beautiful they are, or intelligent, or whatever the potential that they see in their children, is that you are letting your child who already has an identity crisis. So something that our parents don't realize is that they can sing as a Congolese Wabuta Makuna. They grew up over there and they came to Europe, and they always feel as though, Atasuki by British, by Francais, by German, by Belgium, they always say, "I'm Ngana za Congolese." Whereas with us, the Butamana Babutu, when we come here, when we're born here, they tell us, they always ask you, "Yeah, but where you from?" Because of our blackness. Ozongi pe mboka na biso, olubi oza Congolais, lokolo ozo balingana moko na ba accent et tout ça, ba mono posa différent. No, you're not Congolese. So you really have something that our parents don't realize, is that this generation, our generation, have an identity crisis as a result. We don't feel like you belong anywhere. And a lot of children don't pave their way in the way that I've managed to pave it. I identify as being French, British, and Congolese, and I don't put myself in any particular category. I see it as a privilege. But a lot of young people still have that identity crisis. So what happens when you really have that identity crisis, and they don't tell you how beautiful you are, how intelligent you are, and they don't speak life into you? This is how you end up having a generation of young girls and young boys that are doing things that are degrading their self-esteem, degrading their spirituality, and degrading the worth that God has put in them. But when your parents are able to speak life over you, affirm to you who you are and how amazing you are, the traits, the skill set you have, it means that no teacher, no enemy, no person who doesn't like you can come to you and say, "Ozaki tokote ko simba." Because every day your parents have told you how beautiful you are. They've told you how smart you are. They've told you how much potential you have. So no stranger can come to you and say, "Oh, you're not beautiful," and it's real. But for example, even with the modeling that I had done, even when I'd done the pageant, I remember after winning, in the comment section, there was 2 people that commented saying, "Oh, is this the new pageant queen? She's not even all that. She's not even." They even use slang, "She's not even a painting, she's a dead thing." And 2 random strangers commented this, and it really got to me, although I had just been crowned for that year the most beautiful Congolese woman in the UK. And it's because there was not enough affirming. There wasn't enough of this speaking life into me. I didn't do it for myself. Unfortunately, my parents didn't do it enough for me either. So it meant that I had to go through a journey of understanding my worth, recognizing it, and realizing that it's what I say about me that matters, what I believe about me that's more important. But I do know that a lot of people wouldn't go through that journey and that difficulty if they had friends or family who spoke such beautiful things over them. So it is so important. It's very important. Banda, you're intelligent, you have potential. If you want to do something, of course you can do it. Just put your mind to it. At the end of the day, Zambia Salam Maluba. There is life and death in the in the tongue. So if you misa to bana kuluba makama tuluba makama kitoko na bana bisu to misa na to amoko yoza maile te yoza zibokomoko sa makama bui, it's not good things. Ezo bana bakola nango yuzu moneti ulubakika one phrase mwana zuko nango yango mwana omuna qui peut-être awsala effort na classe te po eza no muko yebisa ki azaki na 7 years old azaki na 8 ans et ça la kangama nango mwana maintenant omaniti there's no point po baluba nanga déjà nazazoba baluba nanga déjà nazaki to côté. So it's very important. Anything else? I'm going to have to think. So I am now a qualified hairdresser. I actually taught myself how to do hair from the age of, I would say, 12, 13. I never stepped foot in a hairdresser when I was younger. Mama said, and I hated it. I hated getting my hair done. But if there's one thing that I always realized from very young is when the hair was finally done, I loved what I looked like. And when mom would look at me and be like, wow, you look so beautiful, I thought, yeah, I love this. I love what I look like. So I learned how to do hair. My auntie taught me a bit, my mom mostly taught me as well. I would practice on her head, and eventually it became a good way for me to make money. I just wanted to have my own money, and I felt the pocket money wasn't sufficient. So I started learning how to do hair. But realistically, the reason why I actually started doing hair for people outside the household is because my sister used to blackmail me too much with hair. If she would send me to do something and I didn't want to, she wouldn't do my hair. And I loved what I looked like and my hair was great. And there was a day where I had enough of her sending me around like a slave. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And she refused to do my hair. And I cried. I cried so bad. I went to school with 2 pigtails and I was so embarrassed. And no one cared but me. No one cared but me about those 2 pigtails because guess what? I was in year 8. It wasn't that embarrassing. But I said, I will never let anyone have that much power over me that they can control me to that extent. And I said, I will learn how to do hair. So I forced myself, I begged mom to let me learn to cornrow her hair, to do sew-ins and everything. And I got so much better to the point that she started asking me to do her hair. And I also was practicing my own head. So I learned how to cornrow my own hair. I learned how to do sew-ins on myself. It was crazy. The first hairstyles that I did were looking all types of crazy. But eventually I got so good and my friends started asking, who done your hair? And I'd say, myself. And they said, you know what, can you do my hair? I'll pay you £5, I'll pay you £10. So word got around school that LUCRECE can do hair. LUCRECE is doing hair. So I'd be sitting in my break times, lunchtime, cornrolling their hair and get my little £5, £10, and it was just fantastic. So hairdressing is another skill set. I was a big sportswoman, so I loved basketball. I went far with it, but then eventually stopped because I focused on medical school. I'm not going to say I'm a makeup artist, but I get on well with makeup. But anything that's creative, what I can say is I am a creative individual. So anything that's skill set of where I use my hands, essentially. So I am also an artist. My favorite medium is oil painting. So I love drawing as well. I took it to A-level. So I would say my skill set remains in the creative industry, and even making posters and graphics and things like that. All of that is really my cup of tea. So So how did I get into the pageants? What it was is, as I said, the people I'm working with, I keep very focused that I want to become a doctor. And so I was working very hard in school, all the way through GCSEs to A-levels. Unfortunately, by the time I got to A-levels, I applied to medical school and I got 0 responses. It was all rejections. And I was shattered because I had been told it was enough for me to just work hard and be smart and I would get anything that I wanted. So to know that I had the grades and not to get medical school, I was shattered. I remember that even affected my faith a little bit because I thought, how can I work this hard and you know how much I want this, God? Why are you doing this to me? And I was going to apply for another degree. I did apply for another degree, but my heart wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it. I got my grades at the end of A-levels. I even had an extra A-levels. I had 5 A A grade A-levels by the end of it, although the average is 4 A-levels. And I said, God, if you don't want me to do this, then tell me not to do it. Remove the want for me to go to university this year. And I woke up and I just didn't want to go into this degree anymore. I said, I don't want to. And I said, okay, so it's clear that you don't want me to go and do this and that maybe I should take a year out and reapply. But if that's the case, then I want this to be a year that I will always look back at and be grateful for this gap year, because I couldn't understand why. At the time, I thought that it was a delay. I thought, why are you delaying me by 1 year? And I was like, na retard, na baninga nanga, but I'm going to work in the university. Me, I'm not going. I'm going to be behind. So let this be such a memorable year that I will always look back at this year and say it was never a waste of time. So when I made that prayer, I followed through with what I felt like he was calling me to do. And Mum was not happy about it. Mum was so angry. She said, you have to go to university, blah, 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 blah. So I went and done more A-levels just to make her happy. And in the process, but this time I did a year that was a lot more interesting to me. So I had done some volunteering. I came out like in Marrakesh to teach English and French in a cafe there. And I visited a little bit as well, Morocco. And then I thought, you know what, let me try things I've always been afraid of doing. And there was the advert for this pageant that kept coming up. And I don't know, my spirit felt so convicted that you need to apply for this. And as much as I was doing modeling, I wasn't doing so much modeling that I, thought, yeah, I'm going to this pageant, I'm going to win. So it was just an experience. I didn't have any Congolese friends in school. There wasn't a lot of Congolese people in the community where I was. So I thought it would be a good way to meet more Congolese girls and maybe just be friends with them. So people that I share similarities with. So then there was different competitive aspects of things, and me being me, I worked very hard to make sure that, I stood out. But even then, all I kept telling myself was, if I'm top 3, I'm okay. If I'm top 3, that's fine, because that's 1, 2, 3, first place, second place, third place. I was very surprised when I won the pageant. So yes, I ended up winning the pageant. And that was a big surprise to me. Very, very big surprise, because I thought it was purely based on beauty. And with the team members that I had, there was one girl I loved. She was so beautiful, and she was mixed race. And for me, the standard was always the lighter you are, the more beautiful you are. So for me, she was always going to win. So when I was there and I was practically the darkest in the room, I thought, what is happening? How is this possible? How is this the standard? Because again, in my head, I hadn't understood about what beauty was, and that it wasn't in skin tone, it wasn't in physique, it was more layers to it. So that whole experience during that year, I would go to different events, I would represent the Congolese community, I would go and do public speaking events, and I would do charitable work. A lot of opportunities I actually found for myself, because it planted a seed for me to want to do more for my community. So during that year, essentially, I was just going around representing my country, and it was nice to do it. It came with its own realities, but I don't regret doing it, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot of skills through it, doing my own makeup and hair and things like that. So it was a good experience in terms of the gap year, and the fact that it's the year where I can say I truly understood who LUCRECE was. I truly understood what beauty meant, and that it was not purely exterior. And I truly worked on myself internally to feel good, so that it can showcase externally. So it was a year where I really found myself. And I would say it's not because of the pageant, but that was a good segue for me to be exposed to the realities of what it, seeing other women that I thought were beautiful, and maybe realizing that they were not the most pleasant people, and realizing that beauty is really not about what you look like. It's literally how you carry yourself, who you are as a person, how kind you are, how good you are to people. So that was a really groundbreaking year for me. So despite all that I've spoken about when it comes to the creativity that I have, and all the modeling that I've done, my main career is actually health related. So as mentioned, I went to medical school. I graduated in 2021, and I now work as a medical doctor in a London hospital. So as part of my journey, as every hero story has it, unfortunately, there is always a hardship. There is always some difficulties you encounter. And we encountered a lot of difficulties, to be very honest. But in 2021, before I even graduated in July 2021, my mom unfortunately passed on January 29th, 2021. And, to say the least, it was very, very devastating. it was a hard time. Hard is an understatement. For me, as I mentioned earlier, everything that I did was practically to make her proud, to make her happy. So the biggest thing we had always said since I was very little is like, mukolo sisa class, bearing in mind that there was a point where she was even afraid for me, thinking I might not get medical school and things like that. So I was very saddened by the fact that she couldn't see it to come to pass. Broken was an understatement. It's been 4 years since, and I can't say I've completely healed from that situation. Unfortunately, that came with its own realities. The aftermath, people think the worst is that the person's passed, and as time passes, you get better, and you don't. There's things that you encounter that different families go through, and I went through a lot. I can say the enemy tried to claim my life from me. And every time, you celebrate something, you remember that she's not there to see it. So graduation was finishing medical school. I didn't even announce it initially straight away. I had my results in April, and I didn't say until July because I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. She was the main person I did it for, and she just wasn't there to see it. And then you have to do life without them. For me, I wouldn't say I was closest to mum. I was always initially closer to dad, but as I grew up, that faded out. But the person I would say that I did spend more time with, or had conversations with, was naturally my mum, because I was a daughter and she was a mother. And you don't think these things will happen. You pray that it doesn't happen. You think, she'll have time, and that you'll be able to give her all the gifts in the world you want to give her and look after her the way she looked after you. But unfortunately, life really just comes at you very quickly. I had just turned 24 when she passed, and you think 24, you're grown, you think you're an adult, and I was still a child who had to mourn her mom, who had to do everything. We buried her mom. We then had to continue running the household, and all of that comes with its hardships and heaviness. Would I say I regret anything with mom? I don't, because I took her out for her last birthday. I spent time with her. I did her hair, I done her makeup. Even before she got sick, because she passed from COVID. I remember, her hair wasn't done. I said, Mom, why is your hair looking like that? Come on, you do your hair for you. And I managed to spend that time with her. So the advice I would give is, there's ways that we maybe sometimes interact with our parents because we feel like it's fine. We can have problems today and they'll still be here for a long time. I'm young, and that's not the reality. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know how long your parents have, and you don't want to sit there and have regret. As I said, I don't have regret because I gave her, if she would ask, I would give it to her. And I did my best to, treat her when I could, even with just my student money, to try and do that for her. So it's very important to make sure that you use your time now to spend your time with your parents. They're not going to be there forever. And even if by God's grace they live very long, you don't want to take that for granted, because unfortunately it's not just a matter of her not being here. I sit there and I'm like, my mom didn't see a single child get married, didn't see a single grandchild, and that's something that I will mourn when these stages come, because that someone was supposed to be there and they weren't, and you carry that pain with you every single day and that heaviness with you every day. So I would say spend the time now with your parents. I know sometimes you're a teenager and you're young and you think you know things and you get annoyed, or maybe sometimes, quite frankly, our parents have an approach that is maybe too African for us. But don't get to a point where it's so bad, your relationship with them is so bad that if something happens to them, you would regret it. So that's the advice I'd give. Cherish your parents. Cherish your mothers. More specifically, I would say. They are everything. And we say it often, we think it often, but we don't act like it. So you need to act like, they are as important as they are. Because when they do go, you will live to regret that if you didn't treat them accordingly. What does my faith mean to me? I would say my faith is my identity. Because as I said, if you keep trying to base your identity on things of the world, as soon as that gets destabilized through something, something happens, then you also fall off. You no longer know who you are. But I've based a lot of who I am now on my faith. So even in the way that I choose to portray myself, in the way that I choose to dress, in the practices that I follow, I would say I am more according to my faith because it's who I am. I am rooted, my identity is rooted in God. So my faith is essentially everything for me because it's what I'm rooted in. And if I'm not rooted in God, then what are you rooted in? What do you stand for? What do you fall for? So faith for me is very important now. It's very, very important more than anything because it's what got me through the hardest of the hardest. It's what got me through depression. It's what got me through not wanting to be alive anymore. It's what got me through being lonely in this world at a time when I felt like I was very alone. So if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd be here doing this interview. So faith is very important to me, and I think it should be important to everybody because that's the only thing you have when you lose everything of the world. Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? I see myself. I'm successful now anyway. I'm joking. I see myself, I'm at peace now. I am at peace and I have my space, which is very important. In 5 years, I see myself even more financially stable. I see myself financially free by God's grace, all in His hands. I see myself propelling even further my career. I see myself working with young girls, with women specifically of ethnic minorities, specifically Black women even more, to help them build themselves up, to help build up their confidence. I see myself traveling the world even more than I am now. And I see myself having an impact, a huge impact, hopefully global, and I would say I see myself doing a lot more charity work in Congo, helping a lot more of the community there than I already have, and hopefully having a large-scale project and a foundation. That's what I see. LUCRECE, yes. Okay. If I was to summarize me, so by the way, I go by LUCRECE Legacy because legacy is a reminder of what I want to do, leaving a mark in this world, a positive mark, and impacting the world, positively, essentially. If I was to summarize LUCRECE in me, who I am, I am a resilient, very resilient. I didn't realize I was this resilient, but a resilient woman of God who believes in women so much that she pours into the young girls and women around her to build them up. Everything that I do is always to build up women. Whether it's well-being, health related, or self-esteem. I am someone also stern, and sometimes people that that don't like people being harsh or stern, it can come across as they don't really like that. But I am someone I walk by principles. If you walk with the truth, that's what I am about. I'm literally about the truth and making sure that people never dim their light, never, never, never. That they are walking in their true shine that God has ordained for them. So that's me in a nutshell. That's what I'm about. Okay. So closing advice I would like to give to women like myself, young girls, young women, my fellow little sisters is please, 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 please do not neglect your principles for the sake of validation of the world, specifically boys or men. You will never sit there and not regret what you've done. Always prioritize your purpose. I want everyone to sit down and think about what has God called me to be? What has He called me to do? Where am I to impact? Don't let yourself be distracted by things of the world because that is taking you away from a very beautiful journey that God has ordained for you. So please, 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 please know what the worth of a woman is according to Proverbs 31. Focus on yourself and please, please, please walk in your purpose. You don't want to be married with kids and you can't give your children advice because you don't even know what God has ordained for you in your life. So please speak to God and ask Him, what is my purpose in this world so that you can fulfill your purpose in this earth? That's the advice I would give. So that was me, Lucrece WASOLUA Kibeti, aka Lucrece Legacy. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in to this interview. If you liked it, please like the video, comment and subscribe to the channel for more interviews like this. And we'll see you in the next video. It's a wrap!